Welcome back to theCUBE's live stream here in San Diego, FinOps X 2026. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE, my co-host Paul Nishwai with theCUBE Research. You know, a lot of practitioners, a lot of customers are trying to figure out how to do FinOps in the AI world while maintaining their current environment. Tatum Tummins is here, Senior Product Manager at Kion, does FinOps among other things. Tatum, thanks for coming on theCUBE, appreciate it, good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thank you guys for still having energy for me. I'm trying to bring the same energy to you all. I know we're all tired, it's been a long couple days.
You're standing up a lot, we're doing sitting down talking, but again, a very active show. I want to ask you, because a lot of feedback we've been getting from people in the hallway track is, you know, I love all this new stuff, but I got to just get the job done, continue to do the FinOps job, as well as understand and get my hands around what's going on in AI. I don't need to boil over the ocean, I just got to lock down what's going on and kind of bring them together. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, I will say, I think the opening keynote here, exciting stuff, right? And what's clearly where the world's headed. There is a little bit of folks still walking around, but like, I'm not quite ready for that. Like, I'm still trying to figure out the cloud stuff and the SaaS stuff. Like, I'm not even quite ready for the AI stuff yet, but it's been good to get the conversation going. And I say what I'm really excited about is, I feel like everybody here is leaving with a sense of urgency of, if I don't have visibility into every dollar in my technology organization, like, that's priority one, and that's great. Like, we need folks to figure out a plan, right? Internal, external, whatever your tooling of choice is, like, you got to figure out a way to get visibility into everything, because that is what kind of catapults, right, everything off that, optimization, governance, and so I'm glad the AI talk track is really ramped up. I know some folks are a little like not there yet, but they're going to be there.
Well, so. Tatum, it's always good to talk to you. You know, we've been having these discussions for many times. I think this is awesome, but like something that's new here, and you kind of just touched on it, I don't want to gloss over it because I think it's important, is what we're talking about here is new to some people. Some people just look at this and go, wow, this is exciting. And that's why they're here, right? It's because this is all like new, exciting stuff for them to figure stuff out. But to your point is very valid. Some people are looking at this going, hey, I'm still trying to figure out like just basics of cost optimization, right? That's what the FinOps piece is, right? Yeah. And you know, a lot of what they're looking at today on the show floor and in the keynotes and such, they're not going to be implementing for the next year or two maybe, but now it's going to move fast because it's AI, of course. Yeah. But let's talk a little bit about that. Like, what does that mean for the practitioners and for the buyers that are trying to get here?
Well, it means they have to be thinking about what the next 2 years means, and they need to find, you know, from a tooling perspective, you've got to find a tool that you can grow with, right? You know, you've got to find something that meets your needs today, but something that as you think long term, you know, all right, today I need visibility. What happens when I need governance?
Yeah.
I may not need governance today, but in 6 months, a year from now, I need a tool that's going to help me do governance. And so it's good that folks are starting to frame that way and starting to think about, like, what does my business look like in a year and what am I going to need to be successful? You know, I'll give you an example. We've got a customer that is just now kind of getting to that stage where they can see their Anthropic spin, they can see it by individual engineer, that's all very exciting. Next step for them, where they're interested in going is, hey, we want to give every engineer a sandbox. Yeah. We're going to give them $500. They can play around, they can do whatever innovation they want, right? And then when that gets triggered, Kion's tool decommissions that account, right? They get to do their use case and they go pitch what they learned, what they built, if it's valuable, and then they can make business decisions on, all right, did this test case, this POC, did that drive anything, or on to the next?
But is this going to change the model? I think you're onto something really, really important here. This is going to change the overall business model. So with these initiatives that are being built, there's business outcomes, okay? So there's direct ROI for what the spend is. That makes sense. Yep. But the innovation piece is also driving for, you know, experimentation and how it comes together. If that doesn't happen, then you can't drive towards business outcomes. Yep. So I think that, you know, the sandbox idea is fantastic. Yeah. It's a good step in, you know, toe in the water type of thing. However, I think that should be general practice in, you know, moving forward as a overall. What are your thoughts?
You've got to let folks have a playground, but put a fence around the playground.
Right.
Right? And that's like the whole exciting part of all this journey is like the art of the possible. But it's also possible to like spend millions of dollars you didn't intend to spend. And so, you know, the other thing that I think is interesting is the folks that start to think about those guardrails and governance now are the folks that are not going to get so jaded that they tell everybody to put down their AI tokens, right? Because, you know, this happened in the cloud. You know, when I was starting out my career, someone migrates to the cloud, all of a sudden the business cases, they're spending way more than they ever thought. CFO freaks out, we shouldn't go to the cloud anymore, right? We're going to start to see that again where AI is going to have a spike. Yeah. This AI thing's bad.
Yeah, so you're saying pullback's bad?
Yeah, I'm saying that you have that spike, that anomaly, and all of a sudden the CFO's like, never mind, no more licenses for anybody. If you start to think about governance at the beginning, and you've got some safety guardrails around, you don't have that freak out moment where you're like, never mind, no more AI, right?
Talk about the governance, because I think this is where you guys could shine as a company, and this is also where we're seeing the agentic piece kicking in, because coding, great use case, opening up the enterprise, seeing a lot of that. But now the the governance is tied, and we're hearing here, more data sets, so data sets are coming in fast.
Yeah.
We don't know what's next. So data sets, governance, it rhymes. It sounds like we're in the data engineering business, but it's really not.
Yeah.
Take your thoughts on the governance and what you guys are doing, and what that role plays.
Yeah, so for us, Kion's a self-hosted solution, and so that's kind of unique, especially being in here, right? We're not SaaS. It means we're deployed in your AWS, Azure account, whatever you prefer.
Yep.
What that allows us to do is we have a lot of hooks into AWS and Azure, and so for folks that are using AI through Bedrock, through Foundry, through Vertex, right, we can do real governance, right? Whether it's restricting certain instance types, GPUs that cost X per hour only, or actually doing those sandbox examples of allow folks to use up to a certain threshold, right? And then put those caps and enforce that. So we have a really good story there, and then directly with the providers, right? That's still something we're still exploring, right? We can bring that spin into Kion. Now what can Kion do, directly at those, at that level? I think the other thing that's interesting here, and I don't know if you guys have had this conversation already, but like, it's no longer a technical resource problem. This is, your CIO and CFO might spend just as much money as your developers now, right?
Yeah.
Just because as they're learning and playing with AI and having a great time, they've never had to think about what I'm spinning up or what engineers, we've spent 2 decades getting them to a place where they're at least a little more cost aware, right? They know when they spin up a VM, it costs money. Our sales guy, he doesn't even think about the prompts that he's putting in anymore.
He just loves the results.
I'll tell you, we had an internal hackathon at Kion. We gave everybody a week to just kind of test out some use cases. We had a sales guy spent more money than anybody on the development team. True story.
Yeah.
And
typical sales guy.
Yeah, and he didn't mean to. He was asking a bunch of prompts and asking for a bunch of data sets and pulling in things through MCP, and next thing you know, he spent $700. He didn't even mean to.
That's the use case, that these AI builders aren't just engineers. This is the shadow AI game we're seeing. And I was talking to some CFOs. I'm doing some research on CFOs specifically. Yeah. And the trend is to what you guys are doing, sandboxing, kind of generically, but meaning, here, let's get a controlled environment, bake out, essentially the old school thinking would be do a prototype and then sell it to get funding. This is kind of the same pattern. Wow, this is really good. Then you scope it, then they can budget for it, then it's much more confident. They're not like a black box.
I like how I'm going to steal that idea of like, you almost internally, you build your POC and then you pitch it internally of like, now this is worth our funding, this is worth going to production with, and kind of sell yourself. And that way too, like, what theoretical value you should be measuring, right? If you have people building, agentic workflows and sending off agents across your company and you have no idea the purpose of any of them, they're not labeled with what you're actually trying to accomplish, how do you even know what you're getting out of it?
When you're in creative mode, there's no downside. You want to discover and explore.
Yeah.
But you can go off the rails pretty fast.
Well, it's actually even more important. I think I want to touch on what you were talking about. When you put controls, you're right. This is a boardroom conversation. This isn't just a technical conversation. This isn't a practitioner. This is happening at the C-level. We know that because of the financial controls. The minute you start putting controls in place, it's a slippery slope. Because now it's like, okay, well, you spent a lot of money, okay, but if you cut off the innovation, now you're at risk of being competitively at a disadvantage. And this is it's almost like, well, you don't want to drive without car insurance because you're worried about not yourself, but other people, right? And that's kind of the same thing here. It's like, if I don't want to stop spending because if I stop, then I'm going to be competitively boxed out.
And I think to that point, we need to make sure that we don't give AI governance kind of a bad rep here, because what governance doesn't mean your hand gets slapped when you try to do anything.
It just means boundaries.
What it should mean. I'll give you how I would think about it is, if I'm an organization looking to implement this, I would want to set, a soft cap. And what I mean by soft cap is when engineer Y hits a token threshold, I want to know about it. And then I have the decision as that VP of engineering or whatever, do I want to, hey, keep going? Or do I want to say, hey, I want to actually talk about what we've done here. Are we getting any value from it? And then you proceed. But you just have to have some checks and balances. It doesn't mean innovation, but within your $1,000. It means innovation but we're all kind of a part of the process as you're learning, as we're spending money and talking about what are we getting out of it.
How has FinOps changed? Because our vision here is that this is going to be the community that's going to be building fast. We saw that in Cloud Native, we saw it in CNCF, a lot of projects will be flying around, but a lot of adjacencies coming together. How has the role changed? And two, how has the organizations changed for the customer? Because the stay in your lane mentality, it's not my department mentality, is going to go away, which means there's going to be cross-pollination, there's going to be collaboration, and maybe consolidation of teams.
Yeah. So before coming on the vendor side, I was a practitioner, large healthcare company here, and for 7-8 years, just like everybody else in this room that started out around the same time, they either were in finance or they were some random technologist. Cloud cost was a problem. Hey, I'll raise my hand, I'll solve it. And all of a sudden you had FinOps practitioners, right? And they still were within finance, within the engineering group. Now, like, FinOps is a strategic, business, lever that organizations are using. That strategy piece of like, how should we think about our technology investments is the big change to me. It's no longer trying to get a spend report and tell you about analysis or sending over, here's our forecast. That should be automated.
Well, it's business model transformation, not an IT transformation project.
Yeah.
So, C-suite alignment, line of business alignment, engineering alignment. There's a lot of alignment. Yep. So that skill, that makeup of that person, isn't yesterday's FinOps.
It's no longer like data analysis.
Right.
It's high level strategy. What's our AI strategy and how do we keep our value in mind? Like FinOps practitioners now are a part of some of the most important conversations that organizations are having, and that's a good change. Yeah,
and Tatum, we've had some conversations before this and in the briefings that we've had and discussions. I'd love to hear your experiences around where AI has real meaningful impacts to FinOps outcomes. You had some use cases, some examples that you were sharing with me. I think that would be really relevant because it ties back to what John was talking about here.
Yeah, my favorite use case, I call it guidance, some call it usability. AI agents, AI chatbots within tools now. If you think about Joe and Sally in accounting, who don't know anything about FinOps, right? They're new to it, but they have needs. They need to go get a chargeback report, whatever it may be. It can be daunting to hand them over a tool and say, figure out how to use it. But now, professionally, personally, we all know how to ask questions in ChatGPT or Claude. Like, it's becoming a second nature. So when you embed AI into your tools, all of a sudden these folks who are now getting exposed to FinOps for the first time, they just ask a question. Hey, what's my budget for this cost center? What's my, it creates this new level of usability that I'm so excited for. We're already seeing, customers tell us, like, I'm getting people to log in and use the tool that I've been begging to use the tool for years, but A, they have kind of fun with it, but also B, it's just easier for them to use it. And there's obviously an efficiency play and there's lots of things we get into there, but just usability of getting people to actually collaborate and use the same tool, because now it's the same experience for everybody, and I think that's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah. What's the coolest thing you see going on here at the show? Obviously a lot of new things. The tools are emerging, techniques, best practices. JR is very transparent on stage. I'm saying, here's what we know. New KPIs are coming online every day. Yeah. The community is growing. What's the big takeaway, highlight, walk away message?
For me, I try to stay intelligent about AI the best I can, right? But every day I'm behind. I have thoroughly enjoyed, we saw some of it on the big stage and then some of it you just had through conversations, like how people are approaching the optimization of AI. Some of it very technical, some of it just common sense, right? Like starting to kind of get an understanding of, hey, do I really need to have a cache that's got all this memory when I'm just asking about the weather, or little things like that. I've really enjoyed kind of those insights of some, beginning stages of optimization strategy, which by next year, there's going to be a whole playbook on that. But right now, it's still early and experimental.
Oh, I want to ask that. I can't leave that on the table. By next year, what's going to happen by next year? What's going to happen with Kion? What's going to happen with FinOps? What's happening?
Well, by next year, I guess the logo is going to be gone.
The logo's gone. That's true.
But yeah, I'll tell you what next year is going to look like for us, and I'm sure there's other folks here that are going to follow similar. It is the AI governance story, right? Making that as easy as possible to implement, easy as possible, human in the loop, approval, workflow, being able to make decisions. I mean, the visibility piece, I just feel like that's kind of simple now, right? I can go in our MCP server, combine 3 data sets and say, hey, tell me, this or that and send a PDF to our, a boss. That stuff is whatever, but how do you actually put controls directly with Anthropic, directly with OpenAI, within Bedrock, within Foundry, to make people be able to scale comfortably? I think that's where the need is going to be. I just really do.
You guys really have a great business. I love where you're positioned. Take a moment to put a plug in for Kion, because the cloud and AI are coming together. The learnings from the cloud have come over. What are some of the things that people are watching? Why should they work with you guys? What signals in their environment would tell them to call you? No one really calls anymore, but to get engaged. And how do they engage?
Sure, yeah. So I mentioned at the beginning, Kion's self-hosted, right? So we actually deploy for your regulated enterprises, folks who have pretty strict security guidelines. We're a great way to be able to lean into that type of automation pretty safely, right?
Yep.
And then we're built on three things. I call them kind of our core principles. Automated governance, right? Across cloud, across AI. AI driven, right? Using an agent, using AI within the platform. And lastly, doing that also beyond cloud, right? Doing that across your SaaS tools, bringing in, visualizing your on-prem spend. If those are three things that are interesting to you, right, Kion might be the tool for you. But that self-hosted governance angle is really where we're different than the other folks in this room.
Well, we'll be tracking you guys, love the position. This is going to be a fast-growing market for all the changes we discussed. This community will be building out the platforms, the tools, the best practices, and it's going to feed right up to the C-suite. It's going to be all layers of the organization. Yeah. The money's on the table, revenue's being generated by AI, cloud scale, distributed computing. It's the perfect storm of innovation. Thanks for coming on, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. I'm John Furrier, Paul Nishwati, breaking down the future as it unfolds. You're going to see value creation, cost understanding, and then value extraction coming from that's going to create a whole new profit loss projections for all these companies, and it's just getting started right here at FinOps, and of course theCUBE doing our part to share that with you. Thanks for watching.